The races that are very tight in these all-important Senate contests, because we need to flip the Senate, include Kansas, North Carolina, and Georgia. Now, a couple of years ago, a year ago, no one would really think probably that those states would be as close as they are. But we thought in these waning days of the campaign would bring on former CEO David Perdue, who, of course, is running for the Senate in the great state of Georgia. And he's running up against Michelle Nunn, and this has been a battle. And he joins us now. David, it is great to talk to you, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Laura. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to throw a soundbite to you. This was Michelle Nunn asked about the Senate amnesty bill. And, well, we usually – is it Obamacare or Senate amnesty? Oh, okay. It was Obamacare. And a simple question, whether she would be for it or against it if she were in the Senate. Let's listen.
Would you have voted for the Affordable Care Act? So at the time that the Affordable Health Care Act was passed, I was working for Points of Light. I wish that we had had more people who had tried to architect a bipartisan legislation. So no, yes or no? So, I think it's impossible to look back retrospectively and say, what would you have done when you were there?
Well, we have the quack there, David, because obviously she ducked the question. She knows how unpopular Obamacare is. She doesn't want to answer the question. But frankly, I'm more concerned about the fact that she used architect as a verb. To architect.
No question.
I didn't know that was a verb, David, but go ahead.
Well, it's indicative of this entire race. I mean, they're running a campaign of distraction away from the real issues. She has said she wants to broaden Obamacare, amend it, but broaden it. She also says she supports the Senate bill, the Gang of Eight bill for amnesty, which I've opposed since over the last year and a half. But it's only been in the last month, Laura, that we've been able to pull her out from under the umbrella of protection of these liberal Democratic strategists and get her out on position. She didn't say she was a Democrat. I'm not sure she's ever said she's running as a Democrat yet. So getting her out on these positions has been very difficult, but it's very obvious. In her own plan, it says she's too liberal for the state of Georgia. She's not a real Georgian. And Barack Obama even came down to Atlanta on radio last week and said, please vote for Michelle Nunn so she can come and support my agenda to continue our good works. The good works that he's presenting right now are just not acceptable in Georgia, Laura.
Right now, the race is, well, when you look at the average of the polls, it's very, very tight. It's basically a dead heat with a margin of error. She's been up, and she's been up 4 and 5 points in some polls. Why is it as tight as it is with a state like Georgia? I mean, Georgia, a lot of people don't realize, has had a mass influx of immigrants, both legal and illegal immigrants, and it's one of those crown jewels that the Democrats believe they can flip to blue because of demographic shifts and changes. Is that part of the reason that this has been so tight?
Well, it's part of it, but I think the other thing, too, quite frankly, is the weight of outside spending in this race. I mean, she spent millions of dollars, trying to distract the voters of Georgia, just like the Democrats are doing in the governor's race in Illinois, the Senate races in Iowa and Alaska and other Senate races. We're getting the dialogue back toward the issues, and that's why we picked up momentum in the last several weeks. And I think it's going to continue to Tuesday. I'm very optimistic we're going to close this race out Tuesday because the people of Georgia are now beginning to get back to the basic generic split between Democrat and Republican based on the issues. That's what we've been successful doing the last few weeks.
So the latest WSB TV landmark poll shows it at 47-47. So this is a turnout game at this point. And yeah, she's tried to tag you as someone who likes outsourcing. And look, you were head of Dollar General and Reebok, which are huge brands. Everybody knows the brands. And your view right now on issues like guest workers, Michelle Nunn, I imagine in the U.S. Senate would be a reliable vote for, quote, immigration reform, which if it follows what immigration reform meant in last vote on this, it would be doubling the number of guest workers allowed in the United States. Right now we have 700,000 legal people brought in as guest workers. She believes that should be 1.4 million. I mean, how does that make any sense?
Well, and not only that, she hasn't said anything strong about securing the border. I mean, we've been talking for a year now that the border is not just an immigration issue, it's a national security issue. And, bringing in 1.5 million legal immigrants is about 5 times the average over the last 100 years. I mean, we had about 580,000 during the 1880 to 1920 immigration influx, but that's just not acceptable. And it puts in jeopardy the real workers here in Georgia. And that's what I'm working so hard to do is to be the champion for them. Barack Obama wants Michelle Nunn to come to Washington and fight for him. I want to go to Washington to fight for the people of Georgia, Laura.
An amazing piece, I thought, written by Jeff Sessions about this race and what he believes about this race. And he gives you major kudos for being as brave as you've been to stand against the billionaire class, which is almost uniformly aligned in favor of mass immigration, mass amnesty, hiking the number of guest workers, H-1B visas. And Michelle Nunn herself has been elevated and supported by some of the biggest open borders billionaires in the United States. You made a calculation based on your own personal views that it's not worth going that direction.
Well, Laura, I'm not a politician. I'm a business guy. I got in here because we've got a full-blown crisis. I think I can help make a difference in the Senate. But if you look at Michael Bloomberg, for example, has put $350,000. I think he's actually put more than that recently down here because he knows Michelle Nunn will go to the Senate and help defend his position of stronger gun control. And I stood up last year against the Chamber of Commerce, and they put $3 million in the primary against me because I stood up against their position on immigration. Look, I believe we've got a huge crisis with immigration, but we've got to break it into its components, secure the border first, and then start dealing with the different components of the legal immigration problem as well as the illegal immigration problems. I mean, 40% of the people here illegally came in on a visa legally. They just overstayed their visa.
Yeah,
but I'm really concerned. Why not, right?
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to stop him. Obama's basically saying he's not going to be deporting anybody with this run-up to the election. This big story in the Washington Times yesterday that they're going to further cut deportations. That's the plan. Well, they're almost deporting no one from the interior part of the country unless you basically chop someone's head off. Maybe you'll get deported then. But other than that, the deportations are down to a trickle. And I will tell you, David, that look, we need more populist businessmen like you, okay? Donald Trump is one of them, and Donald Trump's kind of an entertainer. Donald Trump, everyone's, Trump's all about ego. I'll tell you what Trump is for, the American worker. He is sick to death of what's going on at this border. He's tired of all the kowtowing to illegal alien interests and the lobbying groups and all these people who want to jam this marketplace with low-wage workers. And he's obviously incredibly wealthy. Having you in the U.S. Senate as someone with your vast business experience to stand up against the moneyed class of the Chamber of Commerce on this issue, I think is devastating. We need more people like you out there. I sound like I'm sucking up to you, but I really mean it. We need people like you defending capitalism, for sure, but defending the American dream. Because if we lose that, David, we're going to go the way of the third world. We will go the way of Central America and South America. Because this ain't looking good the way it's going right now if we don't turn it around.
No, sir. But the encouraging thing for me out here on the stump, Laura, is that people are beginning to wake up to the fact that this direction is not working. You know, I lived in Europe during the 70s and for a little while, and I watched France and a few of those countries put some of those social programs in. They've never recovered. Look, I did this for our kids and grandkids. You said it on the opening. I just don't want to be the first generation that has to tell my kids I'm leaving you in America that's worse off than what I was given. And that's the way it looks right now, and that's not good enough for our kids. I just believe we've got to change direction and get America working again, which means pushing back on regulation, getting a decent immigration bill passed. And I think if we get the Senate, we can do that and put it on the president's desk and force this to become a critical issue in the 2016 cycle.
What would the immigration bill look like?
Well, frankly, I think you would have some guest workers, but a control number of that. You would have the border secured, and frankly, a plan to get more control. Look, the Senate bill basically did away with E-Verify. I mean, it fundamentally did not put the teeth behind that. It gave the Department of Homeland Security too much discretion with regard to securing the border. I think those are things that would change in a new Senate bill.
My bill would be very simple. It would be one line: enforce the border.
Exactly.
Lock it down. All these bills, I'll just tell us we're going to pass a bill. We're going to have a bill, the bill. We had a bill to build the border fence. How did that work out? We have laws on the books now they're not enforcing. You are supposed to be deporting people who are in this country illegally. The president, with a stroke of a pen, was going to call that off. He's basically stopped common sense immigration enforcement in this country. So we can pass all the bills we want. And pass all the bills we want. But until the people demand enforcement through elected representatives who are shown the door, if they don't put American interests first, then all these bills can be passed, but we're not going to have any changes in this country. We need immigration enforcement across the board. And if they don't do it, then we got to kick everyone else in power who's not doing it. And I'm telling you, I think I'm speaking for a lot of people out there just tired of being told what to do by people who are not even supposed to be in this country legally. I mean, they're not supposed to be here at all, and they're demanding that we change for them. Well, I don't go down to Salvador and demand that they change for my culture or my background. That's not how immigration works. So, David, I just think you're facing a lot in Georgia. I mean, they're trying to pull out the race issue. The black churches are rallying to get the vote out, and implicit in all of that is that Republicans want to stop people from voting. So you got to get out there and whip up the crowds there. But I think there are enough common sense voters in the state of Georgia who see the writing on the wall, and we need you out there swinging for them.
Well, God bless you. That's what we're doing. I mean, I'm working for the working person here, and that's a conundrum. A lot of people say you ran these large companies, but, you know, at Dollar General, for example, we had a mission to help families get from payday to payday, and that's an ethos I've carried my entire life. One of my first jobs was in a Head Start program. You know, I understand. I'm hearing the stories out here of people who have lost their insurance. Their
awful. Insurance
premiums are double. It's just awful. And you know what? That number is increasing right now, Laura, to where it's becoming visible to everybody out here. But the people losing jobs to immigrants right here in construction and the farm industry as well. So, you know, I just think this is a critical time for our country. The Republicans need to offer hope and a new direction to put people back to work. That's what I'm hearing out here. They're tired of Washington being broken and doing things to them that are unacceptable.
And I'll tell you what I heard. People are coming up to me in New York City, of all places, yesterday. Folks I was coming out of Fox last night, and people wait outside to try to talk to you when you get off the air. And people from Texas and Nebraska, Ohio, there must have been 15 or 20 people. And I ended up just chit-chatting because I love to hear what's on their minds. You know what? Two or three of them said to me, you know what we need? We need a fighter. And they said, thank you for fighting for us. A lot of people think they have no voice. They elect people every 4 years, every 2 years. They have a voice in Washington. David, if you are their voice and you speak with conviction and compassion for all Americans, legal immigrants and all Americans, I think the sky's the limit for you. I think you're going to do really well, and I think the people of Georgia are going to be very proud. But if you don't do that, we're going to hold you accountable, and you'll be at the other end of the firing line. So we'll hold you accountable if you get in there, and we certainly hope you do. Thank you so much for joining us, David Perdue. Everybody get out to vote in Georgia. Make sure to get your cousin Pookie, as Barack Obama said, and get him out to vote as well. David, thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. God bless you.
All right, we'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. Mitt Romney is going to stop by. Can't wait to talk to him. Do not touch that dial.
The Laura Ingraham Show.
Thanks for listening to this podcast excerpt of The Laura Ingraham Show. If you'd like to receive podcasts of our complete shows, go to lauraingraham.com and sign up to become a member of Laura 365. Our Laura 365 members get commercial-free streams and podcasts of our shows every day we're on the air. And also, you can listen to the last 30 days of The Laura Ingraham Show. Be ahead of the curve. Join Laura 365.